Looking ahead, on Sunday, August 7th, El Paso County Deputy Andrew Peery gave his life in the line of duty trying to save Alex Paz. Those deaths have deeply impacted many in our community. Immediate families, first and foremost, as well as friends and neighbors, so many others, including everyone at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office and the Fountain Police Department who responded to that shooting call that Sunday afternoon. Well, ahead of the SHIELD616 border-to-border bicycle ride this week across Colorado, both Sheriff Bill Elder and Fountain Chief Chris Heberer sat down exclusively with our Ira Cronin to try and put the loss of Deputy Peery into words and the impact on the departments and how they're moving forward.
There's a mission behind SHIELD616, and specifically the reason myself and 31 other people will be riding our bicycles nearly 500 miles across Colorado this week. It's to raise money to donate the very best in ballistics gear to our first responders, in hopes of at best saving a life and preventing a tragedy, and at the least letting those who willingly run toward danger know that there are people willing to do hard things to show them support, because as we've seen and been reminded recently right here in the Pikes Peak region, being a first responder is a job that can require the ultimate sacrifice.
Response 501 Ponderosa Drive on a shooting.
Last year I interviewed the Boulder police chief after they lost Eric Talley, and she told me it was the worst thing you can deal with as a department leader. I'm sure this is the last thing you want to deal with as sheriff.
When I first took office, it was my number one fear, was being the sheriff when I lost someone in the line of duty.
We have active shots being fired. We do have one officer down.
Sheriff Bill Elder has now dealt with the loss of 3 deputies in the line of duty. Micah Flick in 2018, and Jeff Hopkins in 2020, and now Andrew Peery in August of this year.
You know, I was at the hospital before Micah arrived, standing in the emergency room before Micah arrived, and stood outside of his door the entire time they worked on him. I arrived at Memorial Hospital again with Andrew, and we arrived in the emergency room before anyone else. We were there before they finished working, trying to save his life. And I can just tell you that it takes away a piece of your soul, especially when it's good people like these.
And how good was Deputy Peery?
He had this natural ability to befriend anyone, regardless of who they were.
Peery represented the very best of us, right? He wasn't an average soldier in the Army. He wasn't an average deputy, right? He was the best of us. He represented the top 1%.
Everyone loved Andrew because he had this ability to make everyone feel important.
The impact of losing him goes far beyond his family, friends, neighbors, and colleagues at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office.
There's not 2 formations that work more closely in the region than EPSO and Fountain. We share a common dispatching center, so the dispatcher is able to see Fountain units, EPSO units.
So when the call went out on that Sunday of a shooting in the security area, 2 agencies responded.
That night was very, very difficult for everybody that's involved. I got the call about 5:30 from the on-duty lieutenant. So I knew there was a shooting that had been taking place. I knew some Fountain units were involved, EPSO units were involved, and didn't know the status of anybody at that time. But I just knew anytime there's an event of that magnitude, there's going to be a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. There's going to be some people that are going to be shooken up.
It's Alex Paz, the woman in the grass, whom Andrew did not know, but not need to.
Eventually we got to the point where we learned Deputy Peery didn't survive. We learned further on that 3 Fountain police officers and a 4th EPSO deputy had tried to rescue him from the house.
As he willingly gave his life because he knew she needed help.
So literally one event that happens on Sunday at 5 p.m. is going to impact hundreds of people. Hundreds of people in this community, hundreds of people of law enforcement, hundreds of people that either knew the victim, knew Deputy Peery, and that loss is palpable and it's real and it's tragic and it's heartbreaking, and there's no easy way through it.
No easy way through it for anyone touched by the loss of life.
I don't know that there's a way to describe it. You know, get up and put your big boy pants on and get back to work. That's what you need to do. It's hard.
I have to think, Sheriff, that maybe some of the most heroic things that Deputy Peery should be remembered for, probably most of us in this community have never heard of, because they happened and he didn't have to pay that ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. You know, one young man who's been committed to service his entire life, service before self. his commitment to our country's military and fighting overseas and engaging in over 600 operations in Iraq, coming back and taking a job that is dangerous and in many ways more dangerous than serving in the military at some time. He knew that. He was well aware of that. You know, many people that work in this profession are aware of that. But yet he chose to come to work every day and to engage every day.
Engage. It's what every Colorado first responder did who's died in the line of duty since the Border to Border ride began in 2016. Their names are on the back of the Team Shield 616 jersey. For the El Paso County Sheriff's Office alone, Micah Flick's name is there, Jeff Hopkins' name is there, and Andrew Peery's name will be added to next year's jersey. But this year, each rider will be carrying his badge number on their helmets as we dedicate this year's ride to Deputy Andrew Peery. It's this bicycle team's way of doing our part to make sure they are all never forgotten.
I think if we forget the sacrifice that every one of the people that are on this wall, it's important that our community understand the impact of losing someone while they protect our community. And that's what they've all done. They've all been engaged in something that benefits our community. And if we don't remind ourselves, you know, I would love to be able to say that this ends it. It doesn't.
And coming up tomorrow night on News 5 at 6, part 2 of my conversation with these two leaders as they discuss why support for our first responders is so important and what it means to their individual departments, as well as the importance of supporting nonprofits who help support them, like Shield 616. For News 5, I'm Ira Cronin.